Pastor Brian just shared with you that I'm his counselor. Here's the thing. I told him he's not allowed to say that in public because I'm just not sure the results make me look good yet. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, somebody like handing out your business card and you're like, gosh, I wish you wouldn't give out my business card. So Brian, come on, man. Amy's doing great. I mean, Amy's like, I don't even know why you come to these meetings. Brian, I'm like, dude, I don't have enough time for this. Dude, I could keep going now. Don't tempt me. All right, here's the thing. Counselors sworn to confidentiality, right? Money opens all doors. Hey, I'm just telling you. A little bit of cash and I will tell you anything you want to know. How many think it's okay to have a little fun? Jesus, help us. How many of you know life's too hard to not have fun, man? How many of you know if you're not laughing, you're probably crying, right? So let's just have a little bit of fun. But we're going to do some cool. I love this series you're in, man. Love this cow tipping. Now, I'll be honest. When I first heard cow tipping, first of all, I don't have a clue what it was. If I tell you what I thought it was, whatever, that would not be appropriate. I have no idea what it was. Then, of course, Phil, thank you, Phil, by the way, asked me to watch the first of the series so that I could, kind of get an idea. And it was great because I love, man, I'm telling you, I'm a word freak. I could preach out of the dictionary. I love words. And I love the definition of a sacred cow. Things that are unusually immune, resistant to criticism, question, or change. Gosh, I love it, man. I love it. So I went a bit of trouble to connect to the series, and we're going to have some fun doing it this morning. Like I said, and Pastor Brian said, I'm a pastor and a counselor. Have been for almost 40 years now. I used to say that I was a pastor who did a lot of counseling. It's probably more accurate to say that pretty much I've been a counselor who just happened to be pastoring. And so I figured this out one time. I was getting ready to speak to somebody, I don't know who, and they don't matter. No, I'm kidding. I figured out I've probably done about 12 to 13,000 hours of counseling. 12 to 13,000 hours, eyeball to eyeball, in what I call the guts and glory of people's lives. And, every time I say I've seen it all, it's almost like God has this weird sense of humor. In the next week or two, he's like, yeah, I'll show you. You haven't seen it all yet. But I've seen a lot of craziness. But I've learned some really cool stuff about how to enjoy more of what God wants for us. So you come to me for counseling. How many times do you think I've had somebody come to counseling and say this? Our marriage is great. We just want to come make it better. And we want to write you a check to do that. How many times do you think that's happened? The correct answer would be 0, right? If somebody comes to me in some way, there's some part of their life that isn't working the way they want it to. Is there anybody here today who would raise their hand and say, you have at least one area of your life that's not working the way you'd like for it to? All right, anybody have 2? Anybody have 3? Point to somebody who has more than you do. Here's the deal, guys. First of all, as we get rolling this morning, take a deep breath and give yourself a break. You're a mess. In some area of your life, you're a mess. Now, in some area of your life, you're probably wonderful, but in some area, you're not. How many of you ever heard the word eudaimonia? Raise your hand if you've heard the word eudaimonia. I've never yet had anybody raise their hand. It's an old Greek word, not from the Bible. It's not in the Bible. It's from Greek philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, those kind of people. But it's just kind of a cool word. I like words, and I like to make you think. Well, what the word means is human flourishing. It means a life well lived. It means it means what Jesus meant when he said, I came that you might have life and that life more abundantly. So basically, when somebody comes to me for counseling, I just look at it, generally speaking, like you're saying in some way, I want eudaimonia. I want to live a life to its fullest. Say yes if you want that. So you know what? I'm a counselor. I read a lot, think a lot, pray a lot. I've learned all kinds of cool little tricks. Can't do them all in one service. So what I've picked today is I picked one thing. Listen to me. We're going to talk today about the one thing that I believe is the most accessible and powerful. What do you mean? We're going to talk, by the time we're finished today, we're going to talk about the one thing that's the most reachable for every one of us sitting here. But if we can get our hands wrapped around it, learn to use it intentionally, it'll bring amazing results in our life. One simple little concept, and you'll see what I mean as we get going. But to get there, we're going to kind of talk about a cool thing that I like to talk about. How many of you would think about this question? Are you getting what you want in life? And when I say that, I want you to think about health, marriage, finances, friendship, career. Am I getting what I want in life? Here's one when you get a few years on you like I have. Am I where I thought I'd be at this point? Is my marriage where I thought it'd be? My wonderful wife's over here, by the way. We've been married 43 years, 3 kids, six grandkids, and number 7 due right around Christmas. And we'll be there for that. That'll be fun. But, you ever thought about it like, am I getting what I want out of life, right? How many of you think it's okay to want stuff? I want stuff. I think that's part of how my wife and I stay kind of, I don't know that I can say young, but it's how we stay sort of energetic and engaged, because there's stuff, we still want stuff, right? So here's an important thought for me. Where's the kink in your hose? How many of you have ever been out watering the grass and the flow's just great, and you're watering the plants or flowers or whatever, and then you keep going. What happens? Somehow you pull the hose just right and it kinks up. So you're out there watering away, and what happens? The stream turns to a trickle, right? I believe that's what most of our Christianity is all about. God has given us everything. There's a verse that says God's given us everything. Say everything. He's given us everything pertaining to life and godliness. Oh, he gave you a little here, a little there. He's given us everything pertaining to life and godliness. Where in the world's the kink in the hose? What we're going to talk about today is help you identify where the kink is in your hose. In your hose. And we're going to hopefully have some fun doing that. All right. I believe there's a really cool flannel graph in the Bible. How many of you remember flannel graphs? Anybody remember flannel graphs? I mean, obviously we're dating ourselves. To most modern people, these screens are the flannel graphs. Well, back in the day in Sunday school, I wasn't raised in church, but obviously I've been in church for a long time now. And I've been in it long enough that we had these back in the 70s. And a flannel graph's, a piece of flannel. And you would have these little cutout pictures of Moses or Noah or Jesus, and they had I don't even know if it was Velcro back then, but you had something on the back, and you'd put these things and you'd tell a story on the flannel graph. And I mean, I remember, just corny stuff, you'd make the boat move and stuff and whatever, just all kinds of corny stuff. But I believe in Scripture, there's this real cool flannel graph. I call it a cosmic flannel graph. And it's the journey of the children of Israel. And the journey of the children of Israel gives us some really cool insight into where the kink in our hose is. So we're going to talk about them for just a minute. And what we're really going to be answering is this simple question. What stands between you and the life that you say you want? What are the greatest barriers between you and the life that you say you want? Now, I'll just go ahead and cut to the chase. How many of you have ever tried to give a pill to a cat? You ever tried to give a pill to a cat? I don't know very many cats that want to swallow pills, and if they still have their claws, they're going to make it quite clear they don't want to swallow this pill. Well, here's the deal. Counseling is kind of like that sometimes. Somebody comes in and they've got a problem or an issue or something, and you kind of I'll be honest, at this stage of my life, it's not too hard to figure out what their problem is. What's tricky is figuring out how to help them see their problem and how to help them swallow the pill that's going to help them fix their problems. Does that make sense? So sometimes helping somebody is kind of like trying to get them to swallow a pill when they don't want to. Well, let me try to get a pill down your throat for a second. Where are the greatest obstacles between you and the future you want? Yell something at me. Where are the greatest obstacles between you and the future you want? I didn't say what, I said where. They're inside of you. The greatest obstacles between you and the future you want are not beside you. They're not behind you, they're not in front of you, they're inside you. The greatest barriers between you and the future you want, you could say, are between your ears. And I'm serious, guys. Now, here's the deal. All right, dude, are you saying I'm my biggest problem? Yeah, I kind of am. But here's the liberating thing. Do you realize if you believe your problem's outside of you, you got to wait for somebody else to fix it? If you believe your problem is somebody else, you got to sit around twiddling your thumbs waiting for them to decide they want to change. So, telling you the greatest obstacles between you and the future you want are inside of you, yeah, it's a little like, oh, really, dude? But if you'll get past that, swallow the pill, purr a little bit, you realize how empowered you are. Wait a minute. Do you mean listen to me now, I can change my experiences of life even if nobody else changes? Now, did I say you could change everything about your life? No, I didn't. But I did say you could change how you've experienced that life, how it affects you, where it takes you, how far it takes you, how long you have to stay there. If you believe the source of your problems is outside of you, another person, a thing, a situation, whatever. If you believe the source of your problems outside of you, guess what you think you are? Begins with a V. You're a victim. And guess what? We all are. But let me give you a little clue. Victimhood is not a life sentence. It's situational. Meaning what? It happens and then it's over. If you stay in a victim mindset, the person who hurt you isn't the one doing it. Oh, we got quiet in here. All right. Flannel graph. 1 Corinthians 10. I don't know if it's going to be up here now. I don't remember. But here's the deal. It says this, for I don't want you to be unaware, brothers, that our fathers were all, say all. They were all under the cloud. They all passed, say all. They were all baptized, say all. They all ate spirit food, all. They all drank from the rock. I don't know if I said that yet. Verse 5. Nevertheless, they all under the cloud, all passed, all. Nevertheless, with most of them, God was not well pleased. Whoa, what's going on here, God? Because they were laid low in the wilderness. What is he saying here? There's something going on here. Remember, this is something we can learn from. There's something going on here. And God's saying everybody experienced the same salvational things. But something's different about some from others. And here's what he said. Some of you came out of Egypt, but you didn't go in to the promised land. Now let me settle something, guys. I believe Jesus brought you out to take you in. Do y'all mind saying stuff? Say this with me. He brought me out to take me in. Now here's the deal. Don't mean to be ugly to anybody's theology, but if anybody ever taught you the promised land's heaven, you might want to not listen to them anymore because it's not very bright. How many of you are going to have to march around Jericho when you get to heaven? How many of you are going to have to shout the walls down when you get to heaven? Uh-oh. Did I just hit a sacred cow? Here's the deal. Heaven, promised land to the believer is not a geographical place like it was the children of Israel. The promised land to a Christian is a way of life. It's a way of life. It's a rich life. It's a full life. But here's the deal. You're going to have to fight your way to enjoy it. There's stuff you're going to have to overcome. Where is most of the stuff you're going to have to overcome? inside of you for you to enjoy what God has for you. But it's important that you realize the promised land's here now, and Jesus died, yes, to bring you out of sin, yes, to bring you out of the domain of darkness, but he brought you out to take you in. So look at what it goes on to say. It says, now these things happened as examples for us. What? And then a few verses later, verse 11 says this, now these things happened to them as an example, and they were written for our instruction, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. So what's cool about that? This journey of the children of Israel is meant to give us insight into our journey. So let's look at it for a minute. They're in Egypt, in bondage, slavery. God brings them out supernaturally. Moses raises Moses up, miracles, all kinds of crazy, cool stuff. And I would equate that to salvation. Salvation's all God, period. Just all God. And then they get into the wilderness, desert, right? And God says, okay, I'm going to give you this land. It's amazing, flows with milk and honey. It's everything you've ever wanted. Oh, by the way, there's other people living there. And they're not particularly keen to giving you their land. So they send 12 spies in, right? One from every tribe, 12 tribes, one from every tribe. And they come back after spying out the land, and 10 of them give what kind of report, good or bad? They give a bad report. What do they say? It's awesome, it's amazing, it's everything God said it was. What's the next word? But. How many of you have ever thought something like this? I know God can do it. I know God will do it. Not sure he's going to do it for me. You with me? In other words, they were like, it's awesome. Yeah, I think God could do it. I just don't think he'll do it for us. Right? What did the other two say? Joshua and Caleb. What'd they say? It's awesome. It's good. Not only does God want to do it, God will do it, and he's going to do it with us. Right? So what happened? They wandered in the wilderness until that entire generation died off. And Joshua and Caleb, and I would assume their families, were the only ones who got to taste the promised land. What in the world's God trying to say? There's something going on there that he wants us to see. So what happened? And here's what happens. Anytime I've ever heard this preached on, we beat up on the 10 spies. Like, what a bunch of losers. I mean, you know, all through the deliverance from Egypt, you saw God do miracles. You've seen God be so good to you. What is your problem? Why can't you believe God? You ever had somebody make you feel like that? Why can't you just have a breakthrough? Why can't you make better decisions? Why can't you follow through? Why can't you? Why can't you? Why can't you? Well, I ponder this kind of stuff. Do you agree with this statement? You can't consistently live in a way that is inconsistent with the way you see yourself. Say yes or no. You can't consistently live in a way that's inconsistent with the way you see yourself. Does that make sense? Okay, well, let's look at this a minute. Children of Israel in Egypt for how long? 400 years. 400 years. I'm going to read this. Their identity, their self-image, the way they saw themselves was shaped by 400 years immersed in an environment and mindset of inferiority, weakness, slavery, abuse, a sense of abandonment, fear, and hopelessness. 400 years. Can you imagine, if you take, back then a generation was 40 years. Divide 400 by 40, you get 10. Can you imagine 10 40-year generational cycles where you raised your children and your children's children and your children's children, and you see where I'm going? 10 generational cycles. And all of it was in an environment that was toxic to your self-worth, your confidence, and your self-esteem. Now, let's look at the 12 spies again. the children of Israel absorbed the messages of the surrounding culture without challenge or choice. The children of Israel in Egypt, in bondage, in slavery, they absorbed the messages of the surrounding culture. They absorbed what it was saying to them about them without challenge or choice. Now here's an important thought. So did we. So did we. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Maybe this is a little bit of that cat and the pill thing. My dad was he's a decent guy. Wasn't a womanizer, wasn't an alcoholic. He provided well. But he wasn't very good at expressing emotion. He wasn't very good at connecting. He wasn't very good at being affirming. I was 17 years old and I got on an airplane to fly from Buffalo, New York to Charleston to go to the Citadel. And 17, the second time in my life, my father told me he loved me. Now, how many of you think that was enough? Once every 10 years. Well, do you think that had any effect on me? Well, it did, but there's also another piece of the puzzle. He would say, you're lazy and you never amount to anything. I have 4 sisters, an older brother, and then a younger brother. My older brother is very much like my dad. I am not. He liked my older brother more than he did me. I don't think he loved him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think he loved him more than me, but he liked him more than me. I would have done anything to make my father proud of me. And because I was so different, he would say this to me, you're lazy and you'll never amount to anything. Because I'm kind of an introvert. I like to read. I like to think. I don't move very fast. You're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. Faith comes by hearing, right? How many of you got to choose your family? Raise your hand. I'm always hoping somebody will. We'll cast a devil out of you. Think about it. You're a floating spirit, and God says, hey, Chipper, will you go down there and be Leroy and Emily's number 6 of 7 kids? Anybody remember that? Anybody remember filling out a preference sheet? I want a dad who's warm and affectionate and blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, makes lots of money. I want a mom who's blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? Anybody get to do that? Do you know they've done studies? Well, you're beating up on our parents. Here's the deal, guys. Your parents didn't get to pick their parents either. And you know what? Your parents' parents didn't get to pick their parents either. And you know what? Your parents' parents didn't get to pick. Here's the deal. Why are your kids going to be messed up? You're laughing because you already know the answer. Have you looked in the mirror today? Now, what am I saying? Your kids are going to be jacked up because you are. Now, here's the goal. They're a little bit less jacked up than you are. Right? Parents don't hurt us on purpose. My dad didn't hurt me on purpose. He did the best he could with what he had. I could tell you his story, his childhood. Oh my gosh. In some ways, he did fabulously well based on what he had. I believe this about every person. You're doing the best you can with what you have. I believe you sitting, anybody's ever come to me counseling, you come to me for counseling. I believe you're doing the best you can with what you have. What does that mean? You're probably missing something you need, or you took on board something you didn't need. Does that make sense? I've never met an abusive person who wasn't. I've never met a yeller who wasn't. I've never met an emotionally closed off person who wasn't raised around. Anybody with me? What am I saying to you guys? Jesus was full of grace and truth. John 1:14, the only begotten Son of the Father, we beheld his glory. He was full of grace and truth. Say grace. I thought some of you were going to pray for your meal. Say grace, say truth. All right, how many think those two words he probably meant them to be pretty important? He's saying Jesus was full of grace and truth. The words are important, and listen now, the order is important. If you came to me for counseling, my first objective No matter, listen to me now, no matter what you tell me, no matter how badly your life is a wreck. I mean, Brian comes to mind. Your life, boom. Drop the mic. Your life's a wreck. No matter how much it's a wreck, here's what I want you to feel. It's okay, man. It's okay. You had help getting here. You're doing the best you can with what you have. You didn't pick your family. You didn't pick your early life experiences. You did not have a lot of say over somewhere between 60 and 80% of the forces that shaped you into the person you are today. I'm going to say that again. You didn't have much say in 60 to 80% of the forces that shaped you into the person you are today. Oh, well, I get a pass. No, it's not what I'm saying. Here's the way I say it. You may not be responsible for the way you are, but you are responsible for changing the way you are. You with me? So what's going on here? What they saw, the opportunities and challenges God offered them, didn't fit the way they saw themselves. How many of you would say, been there, done that? Dumb little example. High school. Sweet little cheerleader. Ooh, sweet. I wasn't a Christian. She looked good in that little cheerleader skirt. Oh my gosh, she looked good in that thing. Are you allowed to say that? I'm sorry. I wasn't a Christian. I'd help her with her homework. I was, reasonably smart. And we just had a great friendship. Never asked her out. Why didn't I ask her out? Because I saw her up here and I saw me down here. Guess what I found out after high school? She had a big old crush on me. Guess why she didn't do anything to let me know? She saw me up here and she saw herself down here. After God started to show me some of this stuff, it was weird how it's like he showed me back through my life places where this had robbed me. It had robbed me of opportunity and the acceptance of challenge. So why do we see ourselves the way that we do? Why do we see ourselves the way that we do? Remember what I started with. The obstacles are in you, not outside. Let me tell you a little something about you're lazy, you never amount to anything. I heard that phrase hundreds, if not thousands of times. My father only said it about 5. I heard it hundreds, if not thousands of times. My father only said it about 5. Who was saying it? Please don't say the devil. I was. Please hear this one carefully. There's a point in your journey where you become your own abuser. There was a point in my journey where I realized I'm the one telling me I'm lazy. I'm the one telling me I don't deserve that. I shouldn't even try that. That's never going to happen for you. I'm the one telling me that. Are you with me? You know what they found in studies? Even if you're raised in a reasonably positive home, by the time you're 18 years old, 80% of the messages you received about yourself were negative. Even if you're raised in a positive home, 80% of the messages you receive about yourself are negative. Here's the deal. It's not about fault and blame. Don't even go there. Oh, well, you jacked me up. No, let's go all the way back to Adam and Eve. Forget that. That's not what this is about. So the thief's purpose, John 10:10. Why do we see ourselves the way we do? John 10:10. The thief's purpose is steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I believe the greatest theft you and I experience is not the enemy taking what we currently have. The greatest theft is him keeping us from getting what God meant for us to have. You know what I believe? If there are any tears in heaven, you know what I think one of the main sources of tears in heaven is going to be? When you and I realize all that we left on the table. When you and I realize all that Jesus paid for that we didn't collect. Joy, peace, prosperity in the broadest sense of the term. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Here's an important thought. He doesn't have to follow you around and manipulate the environment to steal from you. He's been at it so long, he's figured out better ways to do it. And he learned, listen now, this is really important. This is where we're getting to that thing I told you we're going to end on, or we're going to settle or focus on. He's learned to use the way God created us against us. He's learned how to use the way we're created against us. Our enemy understands two critical things about God's design. Number one, the most powerful force in shaping our lives is words. How many of you know words are monsters? You ever been tooling down the road and somebody says one thing and you are knocked for a loop for days? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. You ever had somebody just says one word and you're done. I was here, now I'm here. And vice versa sometimes. Sometimes you're kind of struggling and somebody will come up and put their arm around your shoulder and share a word with you and you come out of it. How many of you know this whole thing starts, first chapter of the book, and God said, and God said, and God said. John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. A couple verses later, and nothing came into being apart from him / the Word. Listen, guys, you don't go anywhere, do anything until you've said it to yourself. I'm going to go to the store. Then you go to the store. That person's not going to like me. You know what I've learned about people? We'd rather be right than happy. I don't deserve to succeed. I'll make sure I don't. Now, the issue's not what a bozo you sabotage yourself. The issue is let's get down and figure out why and how we do that. Let's get down to why and how. So the first thing the enemy understands is how powerful words are. The second thing he understands is if implanted early enough in our lives, they will shape our identity and life choices without us even being consciously aware of it. All this stuff I'm talking about, oh, you're lazy, you never amount to anything. Dude, I didn't figure that out until I was in my 30s. How many of you know that sucker stole a bunch from me by then? That thief had already robbed me by then. You with me? But how many of you know when you catch a thief? So here's what I want to talk to you about. A cool little process to help you deal with this. Number one, 3 steps. Number one, capture your ants. What's an ant? Automatic negative thought. Capture your ants. Here's the deal, guys. When I said a minute ago that the enemy figured out how God created us to work, here's the thing. Your brain is designed by God to learn something, and then once you've learned it, it puts it in a subconscious part of your brain and just on autopilot. Why can I do this and talk to you at the same time? Do I have to think to move my arms? Be careful. Are you moving my arms? Is God moving my arms? Who's moving my arms right now? I am. Now please, this is so important. Why can I do this and still talk to you? Because it's another part of my brain that learned how to do this that I don't have to think about it to do it. Well, guess what? Same way when I go to shake your hand and I say to myself, he's not going to like me. did I think through 5 different steps and come to the conclusion, this guy's not gonna like me? No, I started moving toward him and he looked sharp, together, type A, driven, gets things done. I hear you're lazy and you'll never amount to anything. You're not like him. He's so far beyond you. By the time I make 3 steps toward him, I'm already shriveling up. Say yes if you're still here. You follow where I'm going? God's designed your brain to take experiences, derive the truth as you see it at the time. Gosh, that is so important. And then store it away. And then later in life, that's how you react. Our culture says this is what beauty is. Our culture says this is what it takes to be successful. Our culture says this is the person whose worth and value is above others. These are the people you need to be accepted by to be cool. You understand where I'm going? And we file that all away. And then later in life, unconsciously, we look at a person and we think, gosh, I'd love to be their friend. Unconsciously, subconsciously, our brain goes, ain't gonna happen, dude. It ain't gonna happen. So we don't go to the small group. We don't go to the dinner we are invited to because subconsciously we saw ourselves in a different category from them. Now, what do you do about it? You got to start looking for your ants. You got to, 2 Corinthians 10 says this, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Taking every thought, what? Captive. So what does that mean? Here's the thing, guys. You got to start thinking about what you think about. You've got to start thinking about what you think about. So you grab the thought. Somehow God helped me realize that thought was in there. I didn't know it was there. You're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. Now, once I saw it, I sure saw the trail of it through my whole life. But I grabbed the thought, you're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. All right, number 1, capture your ants. Number 2, question your ants. Question your ants. Question your ants. I mean, like there was a witness on a witness stand and you're a lawyer and you're a dog fighter. You're going to tear this witness up. So you grab that thought, you're lazy, you never amount to anything. 2 questions. You got to learn to ask these 2 questions. Who told me that? Genesis 3:11, after the fall. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid, is what Adam said. The next words recorded, God said, who told you that? You're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. Who told you that? You're not pretty. Who told you that? You're not smart. Who told you that? You know, you don't deserve to succeed. Who told you that? You know, you're never going to have much in life. Who told you that? Whoever's words, this is important, whoever's words define you is your God. Whoever's words define you is your God. So the second question, number 1, you're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. Who told me that? My earthly father. Why? Because that's probably how he felt about himself. He probably thought he was helping me. So question 1, who told me that? Question 2, God, do you agree with that? I'm capturing the ant. You're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. God, who told me that? My dad. God, do you agree with that? Chipper, I have this moment with God, and you know what he says to me? Chipper, I made you laid back and relaxed so that hurting people would be comfortable talking to you. I made you laid back and relaxed so you could frustrate the mess out of your wife because you don't get, no, I'm kidding. So that hurting people feel good talking to you. Wait a minute, whoa, God, wait. You made me this way? You like me this way? I come into a church like this and I say, you know, I have such respect for Brian. Don't tell him I said that. But I have such respect for him because I can't do this. I proved that pretty quick. But you know what? I can go in a little office and meet with him, he and Amy or staff or whatever, and I can do some stuff he can't do. You with me? Now the problem is I get to decide who I'm going to compare myself to. In certain areas, he's better than I am. But in certain areas, ooh, I had a terrible thought right there. I'm South Carolina and you're Georgia, but I won't say it. It was just a thought. It was just a thought. I won't say it. Did I say it out loud? Gosh, I didn't mean to say that out loud. I'm so sorry. It just slipped. It just, you got to figure out where you're going to put yourself on this comparison. Third thing, and we're done. Capture your ants. Question your ants. Replace them. Replace them. You know what, God? I'm probably never going to be the hardest working guy on the planet. If you want to get a bunch of stuff done, don't call me. Don't call me. If you want to go hang out in Barnes & Noble and read some cool books, come on, let's go. If you want to go to a movie, let's go to a movie. You want to go mow the grass, do yard work? Please don't call me. Please don't call me, because I'm going to say no. But if something in your life's broken, deeply broken, I can probably help you. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. What's it going to take for you to be okay with who you are and who you aren't? How many of you believe God made you? You believe you're the workmanship of God? Yes? How many of you spend a lot of time criticizing his work? I don't like my nose. I don't like my butt. I don't like, rah. Did he make you or didn't he? You don't get another ride. Why not decide to enjoy it? I just, some things about myself I wish he had a different, like you couldn't have put a little bit more of that in? Couldn't have taken a little bit of that out? But you know what? I look in the mirror and I'm like, you know what, God? I'm okay, man. I believe if I was my friend, I'd like me. Does that make sense? Did I say it right? What's it going to take for you to just kind of go, I am a rambling wreck, but so are you. Just in different ways. Let me pray for you. Father, in Jesus' name, bless these awesome folks. Gosh, what an honor it is to be here. What an honor it is to be with my friends and be with their friends. And God, please use something that's been said today to help each and every one of us. Please, sir. Father, help us to help it to break through in ways it never has before. How much you love us. How much you love us. Not us, plural, but how much you love me and him and her and him and her. Yeah, but I'm this. Yeah, but I'm that. You are. But he still loves you. And he can still use that thing. God, help us, please. In Jesus' name, amen. Bless you guys.